around. This is the Relational Wisdom School, where we chat everything in and around ways to relate to yourself, source, and others. If you're not following us already, you can check us out on YouTube, get resource, as well as our Facebook group, Relational Wisdom. So, what's alive in you, Summer?
What's alive in me? A desire to play and follow my own creative musings. No structured time or appointments. Feels like summer's out. So I have a real need for unstructured pace of time. That's what's alive in me, is that real nourishment in that I need. That's me. What's alive in you this morning, Miss Naomi?
I'm relating to you extra hard. I definitely, even particularly this week, I need some rest and some nurturing. This is the time of year when I really like to spend a lot of time outdoors, and as some of my school year commitments drop, I really spend a lot of time writing and sitting on the grass and looking at flowers and things that build me up on the inside. So I'm noticing that same desire. I feel a little withdrawn today. I've done a lot of like being in my house, the rainy weather. I think I'm longing for a little shift. I want to be a bit playful. I want to be outdoors and move my body. And then there's a part of me that's just, see your commitments through, Naomi. Make sure you do what you're supposed to do. So yeah, that's kind of what's alive in me today. And I'm curious, Dre, what's coming up in you?
Annoyances and frustrations with tech. I'm needing consistency and predictability. In one piece with the streaming software is the chat doesn't show up, and I don't know what's going on. So stuff like that is an irritation. It lives in my body as just like abrasive sandpaper that I just got to breathe through it, and then eventually it goes away. So it's just the frustration comes up, bubbles up, and I'm practicing just breathing through it and noticing that there isn't any stickiness or grabbiness of like holding on to it. It's just alive in the moment. And I'm also desiring for some play. I like to dive into learning and just allowing it to like simmer in and integrate. I've definitely been drinking out of a fire hose this week. There's a lot of pieces I'm plugged into, and I'm just realizing it seems like I'm on fast forward like 2 times speed at the moment, and the weeks go by so quickly. I'm just surprised and shocked that it's Friday. Like, wow. And not so shocked because if I look back, a lot has happened each day. So it does seem like I'm like evolving so quickly at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. And so I need this time and space to let it integrate and have it make sense in my reality. Like putting my own experience and words to what I've been taking in. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Can I just interject before we move on to whatever naturally comes up next? I noticed my body felt tense when you started to speak about the fire hose experience you're having. But also, as we work through our 15 minutes of tech issues before going live, I really felt that sense from you that, yeah, this is kind of sticky, but it didn't seem to be really moving you into a reactive place, which it felt relaxing to be on, if I'm interacting with you, it felt relaxing to notice that it wasn't extremely triggering for you in any way. So we're all growing. We're doing it. And I just wanted to name, there's some hearts and likes coming in our Facebook group. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that separately. So if my eyes go to the left, that I'm just checking the Facebook group.
That's what I've got on my phone here.
Oh, you've got it as well. Between the two of us, we'll get it here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I noticed that the chat is there. Remus says, "Hello, beautiful people." He can't believe it's Friday already, so there's some chat coming in, which is awesome. Yes.
And the other thing coming to me was like, wouldn't it be fun to just play in the sandbox tier, the three of us together, and even the people coming in, just what's alive in them, what's in us today, and this idea that as adults, we can bring play back to our lives. We don't have to be so serious and strict and work mode and everything's pressured and I'm feeling that tug in me and feeling that you two are my playmates. Like we play together in a lot of different ways, and we're leaning into that harder as time goes on. So yeah, I want to do that with you today a little bit.
Well, I love how it's time today. Remus is saying, "Oh, can't believe it's Friday already. Time's going faster." And I love the idea of, because the difference in Greek, the chronos and the kairos, I think that's how you say it, time, where it's
Kairos.
not kairos, where
Chronos and Kairos.
chronos, we live mostly in our culture in chronos time. It's logical, it's linear, you got to be on time for appointments, blah blah blah. But then you get into creative things, like for me, painting, and there's timelessness and this kairos, this divine timing. I looked it up. It's qualitative rather than quantitative, sacred timing, the moment when things feel ripe, right? You don't pluck apples from a tree when they're not ripe. And so this forced time frame, I'm somehow feeling it more in my nervous system now more than ever. It's like, no, don't make me be somewhere on time. Like, on time. Can I have a time window? Can I have a buffer? Can I just be in my own nervous system without the pressure to conform? It just feels so much more violent to me these days. So I appreciate both your ease with that, because it certainly isn't a corporate or job-based um, efficient way of being in chronological time, but in Kairos time, I notice, I think Einstein and all the great thinkers, right? They went into Kairos time. They got all their ideas from being in that relaxed state, and I find I'm more creative. I'm also more efficient with what I'm doing when I have less pressure. I get more done, and it's ironic. And at the same time, it's so much more nourishing to myself. And um, with all the burnout, the adrenal fatigue, the fibromyalgia going on in our world, I'm like, maybe that's saying something to us about how we operate in the world, and maybe going back into a little more Kairos time, or even at least having that concept in our culture, because we think of time in one way. So that's my invitation today, because that's what I really um, am thirsting for. Yeah.
Yeah. I notice it brings a bit of unease in me. There's a deep yearning and desire to be in Kairos, to be in the unknown play, as if like it's a reward for me to like, oh, now I get to relax. But then to live it and to go about it all the time creates anxiety for me. And so there is a need for me for order and structure and consistency. So how do
Mhm.
I have that in a way that doesn't pressurize my nervous system, doesn't make me sick, doesn't make me like get to a place of like agitation and judgment of others that are not following what I have in my mind, right? Whether that is a sense of control to create predictability to deal with like my anxiety around uncertainty, though I would love to have both, right? And so I'm realizing now, yeah, I love to bring in more Kairos time, more time where I can just be in this creative space to allow the cooking to happen, to allow something to brew and stew and just be birthed and it's divine timing. And so in this moment, if I were to speak to what's alive in me now, it's, yeah, I'm taking a lot in right now. I'm learning lots and trying to figure out how it all connects together. And this doesn't help if I start learning more. I start reading more. I start listening to more podcasts, start cramming in more information. Kairos is needed for that to settle and integrate into my real life experiences so that I can make sense of it. And then when I do speak to things that I'm learning, I realize, oh, wow, I'm actually living it. I just didn't have the words to put it together. And that so meets my need for growth and learning and meaning because my mind loves to make sense of things. And I want to create space for it because I would consider myself, if I were to judge myself, an intellectual. I love learning. I love when things make sense with my mind. And so I'm in a place where can my mind ease into the gift that comes with Kairos? Can trust it? Can it trust the wisdom of my body? Can it trust that it can work with my intuition? Because my mind's like, how does intuition work? Right. And so that's where it's gathering all that data to then start easing back because there is a science to it and an art, of course, but there is a science to it. Yeah. And I'm curious, how is it for you both to hear that?
I can pop in. I mean, I think this is something we're navigating like together even currently. What is the balance between structure and flow, and the needs of 3 people and all the needs of the people we are serving and that are serving us. And my mind just ran off track for a minute. What's coming up in me is my experience of I'm a flow person. I don't like routine. I never have liked routine. Summer, what's happening?
I just noticed as you rub the cords that it's going shh. So.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I have to stay still today for my technology. Routine has always felt strangling to me. Like there's something about an expectation to get up the same day or, every day, 5 days a week and do the exact same thing. My body feels stifled and strangled. And so I've learned to live more cyclically in that I have to meet all these maybe outside expectations of running a household and being a mother and serving students and things like that. But I tend to do them cyclically, and I have a full list to choose from. There might be 10 to 15 things that cyclically need to be addressed, but not all in this one moment. And so I tend to look at my list of 15 and say, which one feels most alive or most necessary in me right now? And as I do that one, my body will give me back that reward of like, oh, you did the most important thing. Okay, now here's what feels important. Now we need to go for a walk. Now we need to eat, or now we need to call that person. And so I've really been learning to practice that. And the thing I have to keep in check with me is that if I'm not in touch with my actual needs of that moment, if I'm judging something or I have an idea in my head of what I should be doing in this moment, then I start resisting. Then I languish in my bed. Then I hide from people. Then I hide from tasks because I'm actually not in touch with like what really is going on inside of me. I've told myself something about what I'm feeling or doing should be different than what it is. And then it stops my physical body in its tracks. And so there have been times I languish and I'm like, oh, I just need to languish in my bed, and that doesn't really serve me unless I have a real need for rest. But if I can see what I actually really need, because sometimes, I sit down to do computer work for the day and my body is like itching to move. It needs movement. I need exercise, and so if I try to push through and do my work, I'm going to feel more and more resistant. If I just get up and go for the walk, which my body is saying is the primary need, likely when I come back, I'm going to be excited to work. And so like just learning to trust my body, but also not let myself off the hook of really being in touch with what's happening. because I do have that kind of protective side of me that's like, oh, we'll just go hide. We'll just pretend it doesn't all exist if I feel at all anxious or something's going on that has me uncomfortable. Then that flow, that cyclical addressing of different things gets really off track. So needs-based, but really honoring needs for me rather than getting an idea in my head of what I think I need.
Mhm.
Yeah. Curious how that sits for each of you.
Yeah, I'm also noticing ES Whitehood. I'm like, I think it's Emily, has a long comment there that's kind of cool. Do you see that, Andre? You don't, hey? I don't know how to put them up so we can actually see them. I can read it though. She says, I really resonated with what Andre said recently about sitting with what you are feeling in your body and also asking yourself and looking inward for the answers. I want to be closer with myself and find my own clarity from within instead of outward. Um, it's kind of reminding me of what you said, Naomi and Andre, because when I go to a fast food restaurant, I'm like, I want you to be on that 5-minute time frame because my body's hungry and I want you to give me my food as fast as I can get it. So there's something to be said about that kind of efficiency and time frames. And what you were talking about, Naomi, lends us to like, how have we come out of trust with our own bodies and its signals, and that it's actually in touch with nature and the cycles? And I think part of that is our calendar is not in sync anymore with the calendars, and the Mayan calendar is different, and there's so many different things. But how in our modern society can we get back into how do we actually function? Because now we're talking about neurodivergence and nervous system, and maybe we don't have to all operate the same way. I know I've actually never had a 9 to 5 job because it just I can't. I can't operate that way. Um, I'm also a manifesting generator, so I tend to go in spurts. And like how you said, Naomi, there's minute to minute time and then there's cycles. I'm in my regenerative creative mode. Oh, now I'm in my rest and integrate mode. Maybe there's different cycles rather than the do, go, go, go that our society seems to, um, come out of the industrial age with. Like we're manufacturing and we have to keep going like robots, talking about technocracy these days. I think it's a real opportunity to start embracing our humanness as we're getting replaced in some ways in the efficient culture with technology. Maybe it gives us an opportunity to tap more into what does make us human and what are the real gifts in that we can actually come to get answers from within to guide the technology, because the technology is only as smart as we are connected to however we came in here with a heartbeat. And so I think there's a source where we get our energy from, our heartbeat, this life-serving energy that Marshall Rosenberg talks about when we talk about human needs. And maybe as we start to reveal them to each other, there's more energy to go around rather than this depletion and this sense of lack that our culture seems to live in a lot of ways. As people buy bigger houses or do more or have 3 or 4 jobs, like how can we come into a place of less is more, I guess.
Ooh, that's a big question, isn't it? My mind's like, yes, that makes a lot of sense. But to do it, to unwire those patterns, because guys, I see myself.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate you, Naomi and Summer, sharing like what works for you, and it just makes me open up my perspective, expand my view that there are different nervous systems out there. We are different. To expect everyone to work a certain way is like to expect everyone has a love language of words of affirmation, right? And we have different ways of loving each other. We have different ways of learning, verbal, auditory, kinesthetic. And so this helps me create more compassion rather than forcing people to work my way, especially if I'm leading a team, right? Oh, the best way you got to do it my way, right? The idea that you want a good job done, you got to do it yourself, right? It's like, wow, interesting. How do we create the right conditions to allow people to flourish in their zones of genius in the ways that allow them to excel from a place of inspiration rather than self judgment? And I'm speaking to myself. Also, hearing you, Summer, like where having this rigid structure, perhaps maybe the extreme over index of structure can be very constricting. I agree. If I have too much structure, it's like a prison. Though I know that in my system, I thrive on structure. I thrive when things are consistent. I thrive when things are laid out and there's order to it. Right. My body thrives. And so it's a question of like whose system thrives in which conditions. And so I'm noticing I'm hearing myself. I think you're playing there somewhere, right? Just want to pause here.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's
So yeah, my train of thought was this idea of, I so enjoy building, doing. I enjoy doing. And maybe that's my human design of being a pure generator. So I over index on it. It's easy for me to swing from one side to the other. And so what calls for me is to bring in more kairos, to bring in more flow, more space, right? Alongside. So it's like this middle path of having both. I just know whether my motivations to do it, to build, is it coming from a place of inspiration, meaning, and purpose, or is it coming from a place of not good enough, trying to be worthy, and it comes from the shame-based fuel, right? That only tends to create my own prison over time. So this makes me reflect on my motivations of like how to be and how to do. Where does that come from? What's the intent? And am I also listening to what's needed for me in this moment? Like the cyclical nature, I totally vibe with that. I'm not a machine that can just go 100% 24/7. I need to sleep, at least sleep, right? Though knowing that I need to eat too, and if I don't move, if I don't work out, I get agitated. I do. I get short tempered. I realize in myself that movement's a big piece for me to move this energy. So how do I create this system of like tuning into myself? So this practice of attunement, right? It's not about thinking more strategies and solutions because my mind like is just it's just lost in a sea of information, but actually listening to my body. And so that's the work of attunement. Yeah.
It comes to me too that I think emotional honesty is one of the pillars of practicing a working relationship with people and with us specifically, it being so important because what we're doing is relational work, right? So, it's a living what we preach kind of thing, but it is really, I have a yearning in my body to not hide, to not hold back, to not, at the same time, to live authentically and purposefully and not necessarily productively, but to put my hands to the reins and really be in charge of my life and building what matters to me. And I noticed, I spoke to Summer a week or two ago that I'd been having some kind of a stress response in my body around some of the work I was doing within the school. But I almost subconsciously told myself there was no fix for it. I was like, well, this is what you do if you're building a business, or this is what you put in some work and, sometimes it's hard. And, I kind of reasoned myself out of it and my body became more stressed in response. And then I got sick. And as I felt through it, I really couldn't feel into the stress because I was diagnosing it somehow and telling it there was no way I could really hear what it was saying. And so I realized actually the only solution was for me to speak it out loud to one of you and have your insight and your reflection as to what you heard me needing. And as I did that with Summer, it just became more clear. Like, it's not even about the work that I was doing. I just had some bigger needs that were showing up. I need to feel more connected to you two, to do some in-person meetings, to feel like a bigger part of the flow of what we're doing in a way that my body could feel, not just through screens and task-oriented meetings. And as that's shifted for me, what I noticed is I have little protector parts that say, oh, if you feel something, if Andre or Summer suggests something in the meeting, but you're not quite sure, like, you probably just shouldn't say it. You should think about it for a little bit and kind of manage that emotion until you really know what's going on, and then you can share it, and I think that's just naturally been a part of me as long as I can remember. But my body has very clearly said to me, you don't get to take that protective part of you with you into the next version. And so that's a little bit scary. And I had some grief, and I had to sit with that part of me that has really kept me safe my whole life and has said, yeah, Naomi, just keep quiet for now. I strongly, with everything that's in me, I believe in speaking for our feelings, our emotions, with responsibility, not saying, hey, I'm angry at you, but saying, hey, I have some anger in here in response to what you said, and here's what's going on, and so noticing my own self where I hold back from being honest, and that we can't co-create, we can't play in the sandbox beautifully together if I'm not showing up with my whole self and saying, this is what works for me and this is what doesn't. Now, how can we co-create? Can I be my whole self here? But if I can be my whole self here, then I can surely welcome Andre's whole self and Summer's whole self, and allow us each to flow exactly as we are. Allow myself to absorb the teaching that you give me as you play and you authentically own what's in you. And somehow there's a really beautiful thing that happens where we all progress together. Like it does change that interaction field in between us, and one person's honesty kind of serves all of us, is what I'm seeing and feeling. So just owning it. It does get tricky when an inner anxiety comes up. We bump up against our own protectors, and yet, as you two have demonstrated to me, and as I've invited myself into real, authentic, emotional honesty is a bridge that allows us to happen. And actually, if we do that, it's like these inner childlike pieces of me show up and are like, oh, goody, it's Summer and Andre. We get to play together again and see what's really possible. And I feel that warmth and attachment that I wouldn't feel if I was suspicious, if I was keeping parts of myself hidden, if I was thinking I had to be like you two to have a place or to belong. And that's tricky, because I think as we're invited to grow by the universe, by whatever we believe in, that energy to be, we are going to smack up against the fears and anxieties and beliefs. And yet, to me, that's the way through. Like, those are the gates of initiation that fall across our pathway. And I'm here for it. I'm here even when I get scared, even when I'm challenged. It's like there is no other path for me, because I so want to be fully myself and to fully embody the purpose that's in me. And I perceive and strongly feel that that's a mutual need for all of us, that we know we have a purpose in us and it wants to be expressed. And somehow we found the three of us here together doing really vital work together. So I'm curious, how that's landing for you, but I'm also curious if you also perceive other pieces of how do we co-create a way for all of us? How do we play in the sandbox together and create ways of being with each other that don't shut down or dishonor, who Andre is or who Summer is? that respect it, but allow us still to be ourselves.
Hmm. That's so interesting and so juicy because um, there's three of us, and there's more than three of us in the school. And what I find so beautiful is if we're a sea of energy because our bodies are just separated by, this meat suit. If we're a sea of energy like the ocean, how does the ocean currents maneuver itself in this big body? Somehow it does. And then it has all these other beings that migrate, the great whales, the whatever, the fish. And so I think of us more like Carl Jung would in a collective consciousness way. And um, our meat suits hold some of our own uniqueness as if it were a school of different types of fish within this bigger consciousness. But as if we embody that, oh, I'm a hammerhead shark, not an orca, or I'm a whatever I am. And as I play in the sandbox or in the ocean as myself, maybe God's created it in a way that everything flows together. Maybe we arrive in a place that's already harmonious and we disrupt it by judging what's there. Oh, I should be more like you're saying, Summer, and as people come up to things because we've been brought up in a school system that says, oh, let's compare and contrast and make sure you're on ahead of the bell curve, better than in other means better than everybody else. A, a giraffe isn't supposed to be a koala. So maybe in the bigger scheme of things in life, as we speak to what life is in us, it allows other to identify life in them, not as we are, but as they are. But we're identifying life itself. And when you can hear someone express how life flows through them in an authentic way, it elicits this spark. It elicits the nervous system, the knowing that we have in us that there's a life force energy out there that's running through my body. It's an electromagnetic signal that we're all innately immersed in, like the ocean. And so, as we can trust and tap into that, other people are like, oh, what is that? That's familiar. I forgot what kind of ocean I'm living in, but this is reminding me that the currents flow within me and someone else. And as I see it and feel it, I can find my own way through the reflection of others. And there's room for everybody. There's room as long as we keep showing up, like you said, Naomi, in that authentic way. Like, okay, am I feeling drained here? Why is that? I'm not feeling energized. I'm not feeling this life-serving energy that motivates and sustains us all. Why have I somehow abstracted myself or taken myself out or removed myself? How can I participate fully? And like you say, have this mutually, as Diarmuid Mutu that wrote Quantum Theology, he says this mutually participating and communicating universe of meaning. That's kind of how I see the ocean that we live in. And when people like you just spoke authentically from your own experience, I'm like, this is so, I feel like I can press against something real. I'm like, oh, here's another piece of life. It's like the flower that I get to smell, and I smell its own unique beauty. And I don't want a peony to be a rose. I appreciate the peony for being the peony.
Hmm.
That's where my mind goes.
Yeah. And I'm really appreciating the difference of perspective. Like there's different pathways up the mountain, and there's a core essence in which each of you shared. That if I were to share it, I would share it from a different angle, but all paths lead to the same way. And so for me, as I hear that from Summer, it's like Oh, that makes sense. My mind makes sense. And one thing that comes in is trust. I gotta trust. And then it goes, how do you do that? And
Mm.
so my mind is needing practical steps, like that's grounded in reality. And I love the philosophical, it's sexy, it's juicy, it's enthralling, it's inspiring. And then I was like, now what? How do I live this out? And so where I come in with this is like it requires a degree of vulnerability on my part to share that, you know what? Living in flow, not having an agenda coming into this meeting makes me feel anxious. And the reason why I'm anxious because I feel like I'm not able to contribute and that leads me to maybe believe I'm incompetent or not showing up in the way I'm judging myself to be. So this allows people to get in tune with why am I resisting, in the flow? Why am I resisting certain ways of being, let's say? Or why am I so hard ass on having structure or finishing on time? Where does that come from? And so if I allow people to be in touch with where that story belief, that wound was formed, then it can create a sense of meeting place where we can meet in the middle and consider each other. You know, I so appreciate those that come into a space and are cognizant of time when there is a time pressure because there's a sense of respect. Just like if I came in to someone's house and they're hosting the party, I'm going to make sure I take care of their dishes. I'll make sure I put my stuff away because that's how I want to be done upon as well. So when that sense of consideration is being seen and being heard by me, I feel cared for. I feel like I matter, that I'm being met by this person, and then we can co-create. Because I truly believe landing down to the needs level, which makes us human, I think we both have a need for play and a need for order. We have a need for spontaneity and a need for clarity and structure. It's not one or the other. It's how can we live with both, right? So that's where we want to get to. It's not like, oh, you should do this. So when it's going sideways is when I get triggered and I get into controlling mode of saying, nope, you should do this. Or, okay, I'm going to cut someone off when they're in a process because we got to end on time. We're going to shut the door now. Where's the humanity in that, right? Where's the openness to consider all that's in the field and tracking all of that so that we can care for the human aliveness that's being born in the moment while caring for all the needs on the table as much as I can. Yeah. So
I'm noticing, first of all, Elizabeth just put some hearts on this feed on my profile, so she's listening. Hi. And as you're speaking, Andre, I just have a sense of like being like an octopus, so there's one tentacle on the need for time. There's one tentacle, reaching out and touching that person that's maybe deeply in a process. There's another tentacle, attached to my own inner knowing. And, like it's practice and awareness that develops to hold the varying needs and to keep a little finger on the pulse of every need that's in the room. And that doesn't come overnight. That's a little bit of that's a practice. We build muscles to be able to say, hey, like, time is important and this person is important and creativity is required. Like, because sometimes those are two, like, if we look at it, that might be two directly opposing needs. This person's deep in a process and needs emotional support, but the class ends in 10 minutes. So then if we just think, nope, time is the bigger need, and we cut it off, okay, that person who needs support gets left out. They walk away with an unmet need, and so then it takes some creativity. How can both things be true? How can both things exist at once, and how can both be met? And I know there's ways because I've watched all of us respond to the challenge and meet 3 different needs at once by saying, hey, just being mindful the class needs to needs to end in 10 minutes, and this person, we can stay with you for a little while on our own, or come back on tomorrow morning, we'll finish your process if you're okay to leave it here for the night. Just doing that. And Um, and this is relating to what you were saying earlier, Andre, too, about like there's a bit of a trust piece, but there's a bit of like, oh, we're in a sandbox here where the old reality says the time has to be the bigger need, or the structure is the only thing that exists, and it's not true. They both, you know, the humanity, the movement of emotion in people, that exists, and we're in a world where structures need to exist because we're in a physical world where and we're bringing many people together at once with different structures in their lives. And so it does, but if we can note the anxiety in ourselves as those multiple needs pop up at once, and then accept the anxiety. Oh, this gives me anxiety. There's a you know, there's a lot happening at once here, and then respond to it with the trust, the creativity, which again I've seen us all do. A new path opens up, and a lot of it is that perspective taking, feeding off of each other, talking through when things don't go smoothly or a need doesn't get met, and be like, hey, how can we do that different next time, and not judging ourselves for maybe not getting it right in the moment. One thing that was coming to me earlier as we talked about time, you know, there was a period of my life where I went to bed every night just feeling like I hadn't gotten enough done. There was just so much to do every day, and every night it was like, gosh, I didn't get that list done, and now tomorrow's list is even bigger, and now that, you know, the next day I do that same list, and then I go to bed and you know, never feel good about myself, and I don't feel productive, and all those things. And then somebody had written a book about the cycles of the earth, and I didn't read the whole thing. I just came across a chapter that talked about how many tribes or people who are still really in touch with their ethnicity and culture, they live by the sun, and it's not a time. They just note changes in things by the time and the seasons. And it brought this new idea to me of, oh, I tend to think, oh, if January 15th is gone, I've lost that day forever. I've lost that chance to be productive. I've lost the chance to finish those tasks. And something in me was able to switch the perspective and say, oh, the sun rises again tomorrow. It's the same opportunity again to live the same thing over again, and just do what I can that day. And then the sun sets and it comes again the next day. It's like every morning is new. But time is the perspective we have on tracking how many days are passing, and oh no, the week is gone, and oh no, everything. And it really relaxed something in me to say, oh, tomorrow's another chance. And so many of the things that I thought were super important and needed to be ticked off the list actually weren't. I learned to live more by priority of what was calling to me the most and was most urgent, versus all 15 things on the list have to be done, and I'm not good if I don't get them done, or I'm not productive. And so it's the same with needs. It's taking a step back for me, taking a step back and being like, oh, look at all the things popping up in the ocean at the same time. You know, look at all these vital pieces of people and things that are here, and how can I be an octopus that just has a tentacle on each one and values them equally because other people value them, right? So it's me, but it's you, but it's classmates, it's everybody at once being met, and then giving myself lots of grace because I am human. I can't do it all. I can't do it perfectly, and I get to relate to people. If I don't meet a need, I get to go back and say, hey, was a need not met there? Do you want to tell me something about that? And half the time they're like, no, I'm fine, no big deal, you know. And if they do have a need, it gives them a chance to speak. So yeah, I also appreciate that about the work we do together, is the opportunity to repair and to check in if we have something inside of us. How did that feel to you? You know, what do you need there?
Yeah. Speaks to, it just goes back to that question, that core question, what's alive in you? How is life moving through you?
Yeah, with honor and love for that humanity in the other person.
Yeah, without losing myself, what came up as you were sharing that, Naomi, is it made me reflect on the old versions of myself, and those versions still exist, those parts of me. this deep desire to belong is the first piece of hearing someone say, this is how they live and this is how it works. And because I like them and I want them to like me, I can see myself contorting myself to be like them, to people please. And then the other swing is, no, I don't want to be like that. I want to control you and make you become like me because my way's better. Your way's not good, right? Both ways don't work. It's more about honoring my blueprint while considering theirs at the same time and seeing that, wow, there's beauty in that. And where do I see that beauty? Where can that help the team? Right? Putting people like in their zones of genius is a great example. And so it's like, how can I consider someone's gifts and their way of being without making it wrong or thinking it's like, oh, you shouldn't do it that way, or people pleasing and losing myself in the process and then feeling resentful. But then knowing what my gifts are, I can live alongside their gifts. Yeah.
An acknowledgement to be seen by ourselves. You know, I know for me, whenever I get that feeling, oh, Summer's taking that away from me. Summer's making me do this or something like that. Whenever I have that coming up in my body, I'm discovering, no, it's not. It's never about her. It's about me acknowledging what's really inside me, whether that's a need or whether that's no, this is the way I am. I need to respect myself. You know, sometimes I'm like, respect isn't a good one because that's not one I usually feel with us, but whatever the perspective would be, you know, whatever story I'm telling in my mind about one of you or anybody else in the world, almost always what I really need to do is I need to respect myself. I need to trust myself. And as soon as I do that, it's like that hook that was hooked into the other person that I felt she's doing it. It disappears because it was imaginary anyway. And it's me that I need to respect me. I need to honor my own way of doing things. I need to honor my emotions. And when I do that, my whole body feels this relief of like, oh, that's what I really needed. Like, I really needed my own respect. I really needed my own trust. Because if I respect me, then I can take up whatever space. And it doesn't matter how anybody else is thinking or feeling unless they say it to me, right? You know, I get to just be me. But boy, does it take practice. And all the time, I still find layers of that where I haven't yet recognized me. I haven't held space for me.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? We're not taught that. We're not taught that. We're taught compete, compare, contrast, get ahead, as if we're behind something that we don't know what it is.
Or stay small.
Or stay small. Yeah, shut up. Don't be seen, not heard. All of those voices and things. There's a lot of messages, and how much that we've taken in and then projected on everybody else. And it's like, oh, maybe I can start listening in a whole different way, and my world looks completely different. And it's a bit of sometimes a mind fuck because, you know, in traditional psychology there is projection. We're always projecting. And it gets a
It's
bit,
actually useful.
yeah.
Yeah,
It is
it's a
useful.
normal human thing to project because that's how relationships are formed. We project qualities that we desire in people, that we desire within ourselves.
Mhm.
And also the opposite
And the
qualities
ones
too.
we don't like too. Yeah, right? One of the most annoying things Carl Jung talked about is, oh, well, anything that annoys you about someone else tells you a lot more about yourself, right? And it's hard to grasp because we haven't been taught to go, oh, what is this juicy thing in myself that's annoying me? But it's really that I'm neglecting myself and the beauty in it, because there's beauty in everything. Even when I discovered on the saboteur assessment that I'm a controller, oh, oh no, that's terrible. I can't believe I'm like that. And knowing inside myself, my intention is completely different. It comes from a very loving place. And I'm not sure where I'm going with that. I just had this segue of, oh, interesting.
Yeah, how we haven't been taught to trust those niggling things that come up, those projections.
No. We're taught to fix and force them rather than go, oh, what's the life-serving thing that comes out of this for me? We're taught that everything that bothers us needs to be destroyed or numbed or whatever, and you have to get over it to be productive. And it just kills so much of why we're here, why I think we're here on the planet. People want to have relationships, they want to get married, they, want to have a meaningful career. But the reason for doing these things is far more important than what we're doing. What's our intention? What's the self-harm and the reasons why we're doing things? Is it to get accolades or an award that we might never get from somebody else? Why? Why are we doing things? And there's a lot of self-harm that goes in with, oh, well, I have to lose 5 pounds so I fit into a size 5 dress instead of a size 6 dress, because if I don't measure in at the weight that I'm, all of these things that destroy. We're always chasing that proverbial, we talked about the carrot. The carrot's always there. We're always just chasing it.
Yeah.
It's the hamster wheel.
And the core root of it is safety. To
Always.
belong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to, Adam in our Facebook group said, projecting our values on others as if they need to believe what we believe. People need to be a little more open to either educating and conversation, but also be open to hearing the other perspectives. Which we see.
It goes back to
everywhere.
safety. Yeah, right. Safety.
Yeah.
What if that other person's right? Well, maybe, what if we're just hearing who they are?
Yeah, a different perspective. We've diagnosed it as feeling threatening to us when it might be about what are they needing? What's underneath that? Are they afraid? Do they have a need for respect?
And that's self-worth for me, right? When I am afraid to check in, because it's so easy where the pop psychology tells me that just accept Dre, peace, love, like he's a human being, she's a human being. Just surrender and forgive without doing my inner work of that agitation, that trigger. That just reveals, oh, juicy. There's something for me to reconcile, for me to meet with presence, to integrate back into myself. The parts of me that I've left behind in childhood because I sacrificed myself to belong. I sacrificed my authenticity to belong, right? And so it's like this invitation. And then, yeah, when I'm out of that space, when I'm more regulated, more self-connected to myself, then there is that viewpoint of, oh, us, we, because the mind makes sense of it, doesn't it? That, yeah, it makes sense that your well-being is my well-being. We're on the same planet. We're breathing the same air. We pollute the waters. We're going to be drinking that anyways. We're on the same planet here, but we still do it, right? Because it comes from this space of fear and survival. And when I'm in that space, it's like every man for himself. I get mine and you get yours. And that part of the brain doesn't make love. It makes war. So we just got to recognize, what state am I in? Am I interacting with this person online? Am I activated? Let's take a break. Move away from that. Get back to resourced.
I find the struggle online for me especially is that I'm not in relationship with that person who's commenting. We don't know each other, so I can't feel their presence as a human being. I don't know what emotion they're saying that thing in. I can guess sometimes, probably right, but I can't actually tell like what's really going on in them, and there's not enough room to ask, to have that whole conversation. By the time you've commented back and forth, days have passed, and it's I struggle with that so much because it removes relationship. I mean, not 100%. There's ways, we all find ways to relate online, but it mostly removes relationship out of the picture. It removes humanity in that face-to-face impact, because we see so many things said that don't actually, that person would likely not say that to your face. But the anonymity, the ease of just being able to spill whatever in us online, I don't know, it feels like a crushing in my chest. I feel grief over all that I see happening because I feel the disconnection, and I know it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. I so
I mean,
desire that piece. I'll speak one piece of that is like I'm missing the context. I don't know the person's experience and background, or automatically I'm making a judgment to respond to that person based on the limited information I know about this person. And that's not fair. Yeah.
well, I think, even in person, a lot of people don't share. We have limited information about people based on what they want to see in themselves and also what they want to speak out loud. And I think part of going back, it can be dangerous to be in person with people. Growing up, some of us, I was spanked with a belt. There's some terror. We come out of places of controlling others. I think we're starting to move more into humanity. And maybe the separation, like we say, it's always about safety on the internet. It's like, oh, well, maybe I can be a little bit obnoxious now about what my truth is. And because Marshall talks about, the emotional slavery, which I think many of us, at least I know my parents were in, they spoke, they just kind of did what they were supposed to do. They didn't really know how to communicate. There was a lot of silence, and my dad, well, we're not arguing, but they weren't talking either. And so we go from emotional slavery to emotional obnoxiousness. A lot of people online, yes, they're emotionally obnoxious. We're testing boundaries. Who am I? What am I really? Can I say these things? What makes me come alive? And then we get to move more into that emotional liberation where, oh, I matter and they matter. And there's this both and thing that comes about. We're just, like you said, Andre, coming out of a really infantile or teenage state collectively about how do we rescue all of these tender parts of ourselves that talk about life itself when we're told to be small or shut up or do these different things. It takes some courage. It takes some courage. And to find like-minded people that are able to step into that same paradigm that we're co-creating. It does take a village
Hmm.
to heal an adult when we haven't been raised in a village that has not been very. We've all been neglected in one way or another, where that's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. We haven't had, I believe, the depth of care that we're all have the potential for in caring for ourselves and each other. And as we step into that care, oh my gosh, the world's a different place. It's just experienced in such a different way. We don't have to defend. We don't have to think that someone else's experience or what they're telling us is wrong, or that we're wronging because they have a different one. We're just like, oh.
Yeah. I'd like it to go to a different planet and going to school on a different planet when I get to choose the people I want to do this work with in a way to like reparent myself and grow up again, to like mature my psyche, like to actually grow into an adult, right? And it's like a practice ground. It's like a playground, sandbox where I get to bring on these capacities and get used to the signatures and how it feels in my body and learn the language so it becomes more natural. Hey, I'm still on planet Earth. So when I come out of there, right, I just have more reps in a way to get less triggered, or have more capacity to know what to do when I do get triggered, or hear the feelings and needs underneath what someone's saying, right? Because those capacities have been built. And I trust that as I get stronger, like any muscle, as I steepen it a little bit more, that becomes my new reality, right? It's like they say, like mental health is about like having less bad days and more good days over time, right? So over time, I'm just going to become more me, And the more we do this, we were really living on a different planet, in a different dimension, different frequency, right? And so that modeling goes a long way. When I start modeling that out in the street with my family, with my coworkers, from the places where I'm incubating, where I'm in the dojo, doing the moves, doing the combinations, then that goes to serve and create that tipping point. Mhm.
Yes.
What's coming to me is that, as I practice and then I go out into the world, the fear of what we call conflict goes down in my body. But it's because I'm actually so interested, even when a heated moment arises, I'm so interested to touch what's really alive in the other person underneath what they might be throwing at me, or what underneath it looks like on the outside, the behavior, the reaction, whatever. I'm like, no, there's something's happening in them. Like maybe they're feeling confused. Maybe they don't like what I said because they have a need for this or that. And if I can touch what's under that, I can actually feel it in my body. I can feel, oh, we have been two feeling people together. And the more I practice it and get a taste of it, it makes me very, I don't know, I really want it more and more and more, because you get that experience of what it's like to really feel another person's heart, to feel their emotions right next to you without defensiveness and things like that in between. And the more I feel that, in a way, it opens up the part of me that hasn't had that before, and it grows also. It grows my heart bigger. It grows that heart muscle in me to just embrace more and more of the world without fear that another person can do me harm. I'm just believing that it's possible for another person to hurt me because I see what they are under the surface. I remember what they are, even if they don't necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all remembering
Mm-hmm.
who we are.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbeats.
Yeah. So as we bring this to a close, I'd like to bring some kairos in revealing like our plans for the summer. What is that going to look like, right? How we're going to flow through. So yeah, there we go. She's prepared. Yeah. So I love it.
Damn, I don't have a hat. Ah. School's out for summer. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Well, we take a break for construction of new curriculum, for new ideas. I'm republishing my book. Naomi and I have a whole chapter to write on community. And so we get to incubate and play outside for a whole new event that's coming up in the fall that we hope to invite lots of people to. All about this authenticity, this ability to be authentic and belong, not having to have those as two opposite needs. That people love it when you're authentic and raw, and then they see themselves in you. And so we've got 10 new authors in my book, Soul Side Out, which is going to have a new title as well. And what else are we doing? You've got some men's work stuff coming up, Andre. That we're going to rev up, go into creative kairos time for the launching in the fall, when we all come back into wanting to learn more after playing outside all the time. What else is going on?
Yeah, I have my piece. I want to check with Naomi.
I might be stepping on your piece, Andre, but yeah, with school being out, we're taking a little break in our Facebook community group from habitual posting and just going more into relaxed, sharing what's alive in us, sharing our special moments throughout the summer, and really inviting you to do that as well, to be a little playful and just check in with each other. Yeah, I think that's the needs that we're having, is to just relax a little bit and let us all enjoy summer in a different way. Not to lose connection, that's not the intention, but to simply relax, recharge, and let it be a little playful in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect, Naomi. I was gonna say that, and I love how the way you said that. So, to add to it, yeah, our courses will be wrapping up by the end of June here, and so we won't have our programs and offerings until the fall. So there'll be a break during that as well. In terms of workshops as well, we'll be taking breaks with that until our next
But you
ultimate
can come
relationship
to
with that.
Vibes.
Yes,
Vibes.
Vibes. That's right,
Come in
Vibes
person.
Town near Edson, Alberta, and we are doing a workshop there too, as well. So we'll send some dates. They'll be in our Facebook group too about the exact dates. What else is there? In terms of men's work stuff, I'll be doing more outside activities. There'll be more workouts, more hikes, doing hot cold therapy with cold plunging, sauna, steam, and so the invitation is out there if you want to join us. I do have a men's circle coming up at Hearth here in Edmonton on 75th Street, Roper Road, Monday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Men's circle in person. And I will still continue to host in-person circles here at my space as well. So if you're interested in the men's circle coming up, showing up in person, or just hanging out, working out, hiking, send me a message. And I'm also using this Kairos time to like percolate the Alchemist of the Round Table, which is a weekly online men's group I do on Wednesday evenings, of its next evolution. So that's kind of percolating in the field as well. So I'm appreciating the time off.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Playtime.
Yep.
See
Anything
what
else?
we've got cooking. I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Have a look. We'll be showing what kind of summer activities we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Yeah, and,
So,
and share with us what you're doing when we post. Show us your pictures, how you're being with the earth and your beloved people and the places you're seeing, and maybe how you're percolating on your own, sitting in
Yeah.
your backyard, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'd love to know what you guys is up to, this summer. Trips or festivals or things that you're attending or doing. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. The stuff that makes you feel alive and refreshed and renewed.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Love
Well,
it.
until next time. Yeah.
Oh,
Be
wait.
well, everybody.
Wait.
Huh?
We're still going to keep going here, though, right?
What?
The podcast.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
That's continuing. We're not
We're
taking a break
continuing.
with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So continue to tune in, and at times we do need breaks, but we'll let you know ahead of time. There's times where we took off for a variety of reasons, but that's still on the plan.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
So